The groom's father stood up so fast his chair scraped across the floor. Every conversation in the room stopped. 1,000 people. Crystal glasses mid-air. Forks hovering. Music still playing softly in the background like it hadn't realized yet. He was staring at me. Not at my face. At the uniform. At the insignia. At the ribbons aligned across my chest. Then his voice dropped almost under his breath. "Do you even know who she is?" My mother laughed. Light. Dismissive. The same laugh she had used my entire life. "Oh, please," she said, waving a hand. "She's in the military, that's all." A few guests chuckled. Soft. Polite. Uncertain. Because something in the room had already shifted. They just didn't know why yet. I didn't move. Didn't speak. I let the silence do what it always does. Reveal people. 10 minutes earlier, I had been invisible. "Why are you even back here?" My mother's voice had cut through the reception like a small blade. Not loud, not angry, just precise. I had just stepped into the ballroom, late on purpose, uniform pressed, hair pulled back, shoes polished, everything exact, everything earned. She looked me up and down, paused at the medals, then smiled. That same smile, controlled, measured. "You couldn't find something more appropriate?" she asked. "Or is this your way of making a statement?" I didn't answer. I adjusted my sleeve instead. A small movement. Habit. Control. Around us, guests watched without looking like they were watching. Women in silk dresses, men in tailored suits, old money conversations, new money posture. One of my sister's friends leaned toward another. "Is she working security or something?" A quiet laugh followed. My mother didn't correct them. Instead, she said it. Soft enough to sound casual, sharp enough to land. "What is a soldier like you doing back here?" That sentence had been building for years, not just in that room, in every room before it. I looked at her, really looked. The same woman who once stood in a kitchen holding my Harvard acceptance letter like it was a bill. The same voice, different setting, same hierarchy. "I was invited," I said. She tilted her head slightly. Not convinced. By who? I didn't answer. Because the truth wasn't for her. Not yet. Across the room, my sister laughed at something someone said. Champagne in hand, dress custom made, everything funded, everything expected. Her wedding, her stage, her moment. I had almost not come. 9 years is a long time to build a life without people. Long enough to forget how they sound when they talk about you like you're still the version they decided you were. I took a seat near the back, not hiding, just not participating. A server passed. I declined a drink, kept my hand still. That's when it started, small at first. A man near the front paused mid-conversation, looked at me, looked again, then leaned toward the person next to him. Said something. Another man turned, then another. Recognition moves quietly before it moves loudly. I saw it happen in real time, like a current shifting direction. My mother didn't notice, not yet. She was still speaking to someone beside her, explaining something, smiling, managing perception. That's what she had always been good at. Controlling the version of the story people were allowed to see. I learned that early. The day the Harvard letter came. I was standing in the kitchen, still holding the envelope, still trying to understand what it meant. "I got in," I said. My father didn't look up from his phone. My mother did. Took the letter, read it, then placed it on the counter. "That's a good school," she said. A pause, just long enough to feel something was missing. Then she added, "If you want it, you'll have to figure it out." I waited. For more, for support, for anything that sounded like belief. It didn't come. "But we're paying for her apartment this year," she continued, nodding toward my sister in the other room. "She needs stability." Stability. That word stayed with me longer than the acceptance did. I tried. For a while. Classes, jobs, night shifts, morning lectures. There's a point where effort stops being admirable and starts being unsustainable. I reached it quietly. One morning I didn't go to class. That afternoon I walked into a recruitment office. No one asked me if I was sure. They asked me what I could do. That was the first time it felt like a real question. Back in the ballroom, the music shifted. Something slower, more formal. The groom stepped forward, ready for speeches. That's when his father stood up. The chair scraped, the room paused. And he looked at me, not confused, not curious, recognizing. Do you even know who she is? This time no one laughed. Because the tone had changed. And when tone changes, people listen differently. My mother turned, annoyed at first, then uncertain. For the first time in years, she didn't control the room. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Because the story she had told about me was about to be replaced. And she hadn't been part of writing it. I sat still, hands folded, breathing even, waiting. Not for recognition, for alignment. Because when the truth finally arrives in a room built on assumptions, it doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be undeniable. And in that moment, it was. I didn't stand. I didn't correct anyone. I let the room come to me. The groom's father took a step forward. Slow, measured. Like a man recalibrating in real time. His eyes didn't leave mine. "Ma'am," he said. Not loudly, but the shift in tone traveled farther than volume ever could. That word, ma'am. It landed harder than anything my mother had said all night. People noticed. You could feel it. A subtle tightening in the air. My mother laughed again. A little too quickly this time. "Oh, come on," she said. "You're making this bigger than it is." No one joined her. The man beside her leaned slightly away. Not dramatically, just enough. That's how distance starts in rooms like this. The groom looked between his father and me, confused, then alert. "What's going on?" he asked. His father didn't answer him, not yet. Instead, he asked me something simple. "May I?" I nodded once. He stepped closer. Close enough to see the details. The stitching, the insignia, the small things that only meant something if you knew what you were looking at. He exhaled quietly, then straightened. And when he spoke again, it wasn't to me. It was to the room. "She's not just in the military," he said. No one moved, no one spoke. "She's attached to the National Security Council." A ripple, not loud, but immediate. You could see it, in posture, in eyes, in the way people shifted from relaxed to attentive. My mother frowned slightly, like she had heard the words, but didn't understand the weight behind them. That doesn't mean she started," he cut her off, gently but firmly. "It means," he said, "that she's operating at a level most people in this room will never even be exposed to." Silence. One of the CEOs near the front stood up. I recognized him. Not personally, professionally. We had been in the same room once before. Washington, briefing setting. He had spoken carefully then. He looked more careful now. "Ma'am," he said, stepping forward slightly, "it's good to see you again." There it was, confirmation, not explanation. And that's all it takes. My mother's face changed, subtly, but completely. Confusion first, then calculation, then something else. Regret. She looked at me again. But this time, she wasn't looking down. "You never told us," she said. I didn't answer. Because she wasn't asking a question. She was trying to rewrite something. "I didn't know," she added. That part was true. But it wasn't the whole truth. She hadn't known, because she had never asked. Around us, conversations had shifted. People who had ignored me minutes earlier were now watching carefully, listening, adjusting. A woman in a dark blue dress approached, extended her hand. "I'd love to connect sometime," she said. I shook it, brief, polite. No enthusiasm, no rejection, just controlled engagement. That's how power moves in rooms like this. Not loud, not eager. Measured. The groom finally stepped forward. Closer now, looking at me differently. Not because of who I was, because of what he had just learned. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "For earlier." I nodded once. "It wasn't you," I said. He glanced toward my parents, then back at me. "I should have said something." I didn't respond. Because that sentence comes too late more often than people realize. Across the room, my sister was watching. Her smile had faded, not completely, but enough. She wasn't angry, not yet. She was unsettled. Because for the first time, something in the room wasn't about her. That's a different kind of discomfort. My father finally spoke. "Claire," he said. Careful. Controlled, like he was choosing each word before letting it exist. "You should have told us." There it was. Not pride, not apology. Expectation. I looked at him, really looked. The man who had once stood in that same kitchen and said nothing. And I realized something simple. They hadn't changed. The room had. "You didn't ask," I said. Silence. That sentence didn't echo, it settled. Because it didn't accuse. It clarified. The CEO who had spoken earlier stepped closer again. "We're hosting a private dinner tomorrow," he said. "Small group." He hesitated, just slightly. "It would be an honor if you joined us." I nodded. "I'll consider it." Not yes, not no. That's how you maintain control. My mother watched that exchange, every word, every pause, and I could see it. The shift happening behind her eyes. Not emotional. Strategic. For the first time, she wasn't evaluating me as her daughter. She was evaluating me as an asset. And that was the clearest thing in the room. I stepped back slightly, creating space. Not leaving, just repositioning. Because I understood something now. This wasn't a moment. It was a reveal. And reveals don't fix anything. They just remove the illusion that something was ever balanced to begin with. The music resumed, soft, careful. People returned to their seats, but not the same way. Nothing in that room had gone back to what it was. I remained where I was, hands steady, posture relaxed. Unmoved. Because the recognition wasn't what mattered. What mattered was that I no longer needed it. And that changed everything. I glanced once toward the exit, then back at the room. Not deciding whether to stay. Just recognizing I didn't have to. I didn't leave right away. That surprised me, not because I wanted to stay, because I realized I could choose. For years, leaving had felt like escape. Now it felt like timing. I stayed long enough to watch the room reset itself around me. Not completely. Rooms like this don't reset fully. They adjust, quietly, strategically. The people who mattered had already made their shift. Everyone else was catching up. A second CEO approached, then a third. Different industries, same posture, measured interest. "Ma'am, I've heard your work referenced more than once. I'd appreciate the chance to speak sometime." I nodded, gave nothing away. I had learned early that recognition without boundaries becomes another form of demand. Behind them, my mother stood very still, watching. Not interrupting, not inserting herself. That alone told me everything. She was recalculating. My father moved closer to her, spoke in a low voice. She didn't respond. My sister had resumed smiling, but it was different now, less natural, more maintained, the kind of smile that knows it's being watched. I checked the time, not out of habit, out of clarity. I had been there 23 minutes. Long enough. I stepped back from the small cluster of people, offered a brief nod, then turned toward the exit. No announcement, no goodbye. Movement is cleaner without explanation. Claire. My father's voice. I stopped, didn't turn immediately. Then I did. He had followed me halfway across the room. That alone would have been unthinkable years ago. He stood a few feet away, hands at his sides, not commanding, not casual. Uncertain. "We should talk," he said. I looked at him, took in the details. The suit, the posture. The man who had always filled space without noticing. Now standing inside it carefully. About what I asked. He hesitated, just enough. About everything. That word, everything. It sounded large, but it was vague. And vague is where people go when they don't know where to begin. I shook my head slightly. Be specific. That landed. Because it removed the safety of generalization. He glanced briefly toward my mother, then back at me. "You left," he said. "Yes." We didn't understand that. I held his gaze. "You didn't try to." Silence. He absorbed that, not defensively, just slowly. "We thought you were making a choice," he said. I was. Another pause. "But we didn't realize—" He started, then stopped. Didn't finish the sentence. Because finishing it would require saying something he hadn't said before. I didn't help him. He needed to find his own language. My mother stepped closer, carefully. "Claire," she said. Not sharp, not dismissive. "Different. We didn't know you were struggling." I looked at her. That sentence had been waiting 9 years. "I wasn't struggling," I said. She blinked, confused. "I was choosing between options you created." That clarified it. Not hardship, not victimhood. Structure. "You told me to be independent," I continued. My voice stayed even. "You funded her life." I nodded toward my sister, and then expected me to build mine without resources. My sister shifted slightly. Not stepping in, not defending. Just aware. "That's not what we meant," my mother said. I believed her. Intent and impact rarely match. "I know," I said. Another pause. "But it's what you did." That difference matters. More than most people want it to. My father exhaled slowly. "We thought you were stronger," he said. I almost smiled. "You thought I required less." That was closer. He didn't correct me. Because he couldn't. Behind us, the music shifted again. A new song, a different rhythm. The wedding continued. Because it always does. Life doesn't pause for realization. "We're proud of you," my mother said. There it was. Late, carefully placed. I let it sit. Then I said, "You're proud of the result. Not the process. Not the person. The outcome. That distinction matters too." She didn't argue. Didn't defend. Because somewhere she understood it. Even if she didn't like it. My father stepped back slightly. "What do you want now?" he asked. A direct question. Finally. I considered it. Not for effect, for accuracy. Nothing, I said. That answer surprised them. Not because it was complicated. Because it wasn't. No conversation, no reconciliation. My mother's voice, careful. "Not tonight," I said. That was honest. Because tonight wasn't about repair. It was about recognition. And recognition had already happened. The rest would take something else. Time. Or distance. Sometimes both. I stepped back again, creating space. Not rejecting. Just ending the moment. I should go, I said. No one stopped me this time. That was new. I turned, walked toward the exit. Past the tables, past the conversations, past the version of me they had carried for years. The air outside was cooler, quieter. I stepped into it without hesitation. And for the first time that night, I didn't feel like I had left something behind. I felt like I had finally stepped fully into something that had always been mine. Not their version. Not their expectations. Mine. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. I didn't check it. Because I already knew something had shifted. Not in the room. In me. And that shift wasn't temporary. I didn't go back to the hotel. I drove. No destination at first, just distance. The road out of the venue curved along a quiet stretch of trees, streetlights spaced too far apart, pockets of darkness between them. I kept my hand steady on the wheel, breathing even. Not replaying the night. That surprised me. For years I had replayed everything, every conversation, every missed moment, every version of what I should have said. Tonight there was nothing to revise. That's how I knew it had changed. I drove for 20 minutes before pulling into a gas station, not because I needed fuel, because I needed stillness. I turned off the engine, sat there, hands resting in my lap. The silence felt different than before, not empty, complete. My phone buzzed, once, then again, then again. I didn't reach for it immediately. When I finally did, the screen was filled. Missed calls, messages. Names I hadn't seen in years. People from the wedding. People connected to people at the wedding. Recognition travels fast. I opened one message from the CEO who had spoken earlier. Thank you for your time tonight. Would value a conversation when convenient. Professional, measured, expected. I locked the screen. That wasn't the message that mattered. There was one from my brother. I didn't know. I stared at it. 3 words. No explanation, no justification. Just acknowledgement. I typed a response, then erased it, typed again, erased again. Finally, I sent nothing. Not because it didn't matter, because it wasn't enough. Not yet. I leaned back in the seat, closed my eyes briefly. And for the first time that night, I let myself feel it. Not anger, not even relief. Something quieter. Grief. Not for what happened, for what never did. The version of a family that might have seen me sooner. The version of myself that waited longer than she should have. I exhaled slowly, then opened my eyes. There's a moment after grief, a small one, where you understand that missing something doesn't mean you go back to it. That clarity is easy to miss. I didn't. I started the car again, pulled back onto the road. This time I knew where I was going. Back to base. The drive was longer, quieter. No music, no distractions. Just the steady rhythm of movement. When I arrived, the gate guard nodded, recognized me, didn't ask questions. That kind of recognition feels different. It's not about status. It's about function, trust, consistency. I parked, stepped out, closed the door gently. The air was colder here, sharper. Inside my quarters, everything was exactly as I had left it. Bed made, desk clear, uniform jacket folded precisely. No one had rearranged anything. That mattered. I took off my medals, one by one, set them down carefully. Not as symbols, as tools. Then I sat on the edge of the bed, hands resting on my knees. And I thought about something simple. 9 years. 9 years of distance, work, decisions. All of it leading back to a room where nothing had actually changed. Except me. That's the part people misunderstand. They think transformation means the world meets you differently. It doesn't. It means you stop needing it to. The next morning I woke early, out of habit. No lingering thoughts, no emotional residue. Just clarity. I made coffee, sat at the desk, opened my laptop. Work, structure, purpose. Things that didn't depend on how anyone felt about me. At 8:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. My mother. I let it ring. Not out of avoidance, out of timing. At 8:15, she left a message. We should talk, properly this time. Properly. That word meant something different now. It didn't mean sitting at a table pretending everything had been fair. It meant accuracy. I finished my coffee, closed the laptop. Then I called her back. She answered on the first ring. Claire. No hesitation, no performance. I have 10 minutes, I said. That set the boundary. I understand, she replied. Silence. Then I was wrong. I didn't respond immediately. Not because I didn't hear it, because I needed to understand it. About what? About how we handled things, she continued. Vague again. Be specific, I said. A pause. Then we made you responsible for yourself, while making your sister comfortable. Closer. And I asked. And we didn't check what that cost you. That was it. Not perfect, but real. I nodded slightly, even though she couldn't see it. Okay, I said. Another silence. Then she asked, what happens now? That question again. Future-focused. I looked at the window. Morning light. Stillness. Now I said we don't pretend it didn't happen. She didn't interrupt. And we don't try to fix it quickly. A breath on the other end. Then what do? I answered honestly. We start from where we actually are. Not where they wanted to be. Not where they thought they were. Where they had left me. And where I had moved beyond them. That distance matters. She didn't argue. Didn't rush to close it. That was new. Okay, she said. And for the first time, it sounded like she meant it. We didn't meet right away. That was deliberate, not avoidance, structure. My mother texted twice that week. Short messages, no pressure, no urgency. Are you available next week? Let me know what works for you. For years, timing had never been mine. Now it was. I chose a Thursday, midday, a quiet place near the edge of town. Not the house, not the past, neutral ground. When I arrived, she was already there, seated, hands folded around a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. She stood when she saw me, not out of habit, out of something else. Hi, she said. Hi. We sat, across from each other. No hug, no pretense. The server came, we ordered. Simple. Then silence. Not uncomfortable, just unfamiliar. For years our conversations had been structured. Roles, expectations, predictable outcomes. This one wasn't. She spoke first. I've been thinking about what you said. I waited. We didn't ask, she added. I nodded. No, I said. She looked down at her hands, then back at me. I don't think we knew how. That was honest. Not sufficient, but honest. You didn't need to know how I said. You just needed to care enough to try. She absorbed that, didn't deflect, didn't argue. That's fair, she said. The coffee arrived. We both reached for it, paused, then continued. Small moments like that matter. They show you who is still trying to lead, and who is learning to share space. She let her hand fall back. Let me go first. That was new. I thought independence would make you stronger, she said. I stirred my coffee. Slowly. It did, I replied. She nodded slightly, relieved maybe. Then I added, but not in the way you think. She looked at me, carefully. It made me stop expecting anything from you. That landed. Because it reframed everything. Independence wasn't a gift. It was an outcome. And it came with a cost. I see that now, she said. I believed her. Not because of what she said, because of what she didn't. No justification, no comparison, no mention of my sister. That absence mattered. We sat quietly for a moment. Then she asked, "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why did you come to the wedding?" I considered that. Not the easy answer, the accurate one. "Closure," I said. She blinked. And she asked. "I got it." She nodded slowly. Not surprised, not hurt. Just understanding. That's why you left early," she said. Yes. Another pause. Then I didn't expect you to come at all. I almost didn't. What changed your mind? I looked at her. I wanted to see if anything had. She held my gaze. And I shook my head slightly. No, she exhaled. Not sharply, just acceptance. That's hard to hear, she said. I know. But it's true. Yes. Truth doesn't soften itself. People either adjust to it or resist it. She was adjusting. Slowly. That's all I needed to see. What do you need from me now? She asked. That question again. But this time, it felt different. Less about fixing, more about understanding. Consistency, I said. She nodded. What does that look like? It means you don't say this once I replied. It means you live it. She didn't hesitate. I can do that. I didn't confirm, didn't validate. Because consistency isn't proven in conversation. It's proven over time. We finished our coffee. No dramatic ending, no emotional release. Just completion. At the door she paused. Claire, she said. I turned. I am proud of you. I held her gaze. Not rejecting, not accepting fully either. Just hearing it. Okay, I said. That was enough. For now. I walked to my car. The air felt different. Not lighter, not heavier. Clearer. There's a difference between resolution and continuation. We weren't resolved. But we had stopped pretending. That matters more than people think. Because real relationships don't restart. They rebuild. Or they don't. And for the first time, I was willing to see which one this would be. Without adjusting myself to make it easier. The next few months didn't change everything. They changed patterns. That's how you know something is real. Not in big moments, in repetition. My mother called once a week, not daily, not only when she needed something. Once, consistent. Sometimes the calls were short, 10 minutes, 15. Sometimes longer. But they didn't drift into old territory. No comparisons, no subtle corrections, no quiet pressure to return to who I had been. She asked questions, actual ones. What are you working on this week? How's your schedule? Are you getting enough rest? Simple, but different. Because for the first time, she listened to the answers. Not to respond, to understand. My father was slower. His messages were brief. Hope you're doing well. Let me know if you're in town. No emotional language. But no assumptions either. That mattered. He wasn't trying to lead the conversation anymore. He was learning how to enter it. My brother called twice. The first time was short, awkward. He spoke carefully, like someone learning a new way to stand. "I've been thinking about what I said," he told me. I didn't interrupt. "I was wrong," he added. Not about the situation, about his role in it. That distinction matters. "I let it happen," he said. "Yes," I replied. No anger, no softness, just accuracy. The second call was different. Less apology, more presence. He asked about my work, listened, didn't turn it into something about him. That was new. And that's how you measure change. Not by what people promise, by what they stop doing. My sister didn't call. She sent one message. "Congrats on everything." No specifics. No acknowledgement. Just distance. I didn't respond. Not out of punishment. Because there was nothing to build from. And I had stopped building alone. Work remained steady. Structured, clear. The kind of environment where expectations are defined, not assumed. One afternoon I was called into a briefing. Short notice, high level. The room was familiar. People focused, voices measured. Decisions that affected things far beyond the walls we were in. I spoke when needed, listened when not. No one questioned my presence. No one needed to. That's what earned space looks like. Not defended, not explained. Understood. After the meeting, one of the senior advisors walked beside me. "You handled that well," he said. "Thank you." He nodded. Then added, "You don't hesitate." I thought about that. "I used to," I said. He glanced at me. "What changed?" I considered the answer. Then said I stopped waiting for permission. He nodded once. That was enough. That evening I went home. Same apartment, same quiet. But something felt different. Not in the space, in me. I wasn't managing anything anymore. Not expectations, not relationships, not outcomes. Just participating. On my terms. A few weeks later, my mother invited me to dinner. At her house. I paused when I read the message. Not because I didn't want to go. Because I needed to decide why I would. There's a difference between returning and choosing to show up. I said yes. When I arrived, nothing looked different. Same furniture, same arrangement, same framed photos. But the feeling was not the same. Because I wasn't walking in as who I had been. I was walking in as who I had become. My mother greeted me at the door. Not overly warm, not distant. Balanced. "Hi," she said. "Hi." My father stood from the table. He didn't say much, but he moved his chair slightly, creating space. That small gesture said more than anything else. Dinner was quiet, not tense, just careful. No one rushed, no one filled silence unnecessarily. We let conversation come naturally. That's harder than it sounds. Halfway through, my father spoke. "I read about your role," he said. I looked at him. "What did you read?" He hesitated. "Enough to understand it matters." That was as close as he could get. And for the first time, it felt like enough. After dinner, I stood to leave. No long goodbye. No emotional moment. Just acknowledgement. At the door, my mother said, "Drive safe." I nodded. "I will." And I meant it. Not just for the road. For everything. Because safety for the first time was something I had built myself. Not something I was waiting to receive. A year passed without announcement, no milestone, no moment where everything suddenly felt complete. Change didn't arrive like that. It settled. Quietly. Into routines. Into conversations that didn't require careful navigation. into silence that no longer felt like something was missing. I stopped measuring time by distance from them, and started measuring it by consistency in myself. That's how I knew it was real. Not because things were fixed, because they were stable. On a Saturday morning, I found myself at a small farmer's market. Nothing formal, local vendors, coffee stands, people moving slowly through the aisles. I picked up a loaf of bread, paid in cash. Simple. There was a time when moments like this felt like something I had to earn. Now they just existed. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Your dad asked about your schedule. He doesn't want to interrupt your work." I read it once. Then again. That small shift mattered. He wasn't assuming access anymore. He was asking for space. I typed back, "I'm free tomorrow afternoon." No hesitation. No overthinking. Just response. That afternoon I sat on a bench near the edge of the market, coffee in hand, watching people pass. Families, couples, children holding things too big for their hands. Ordinary life. It used to feel like something I was outside of. Now it felt like something I could step into, or step away from. Choice. That's what had changed. The next day my father called. Right on time. "Claire." "Hi." A pause. "Then I wanted to hear your voice." That was new. Not because he hadn't wanted to before. Because he said it. We talked for 20 minutes. Not about the past. Not about what went wrong. About work. About small things. About things that didn't require explanation. When the call ended, he said, "Thank you." Not for anything specific. Just for being there. That mattered, because gratitude had replaced expectation. Later that week, I received an email. Subject line simple. Invitation. From the same CEO I had met at the wedding. A private forum, small group, policy strategy influence. The kind of room I had once imagined from a distance. Now, I was being asked to enter it. I read the email carefully. Not for validation. For alignment. Then I accepted. Not because of what it meant to others. Because of what it meant to me. That I had built something, independent of where I started. That I had carried myself through a system that never made space for me. And that I no longer needed that system to recognize it. That evening, I opened a drawer. Inside the Harvard acceptance letter, still folded, still intact. I held it for a moment. Not with regret. With understanding. That path had ended, but it had led somewhere else. Not better, not worse. Just mine. I placed it back, closed the drawer. There's a kind of peace that doesn't come from getting what you wanted. It comes from realizing you built something without it, and that it's enough. If you've ever been the one expected to carry more, the one told to be stronger, the one who had to become independent before you were ready, you already know this. Strength doesn't come from what people give you. It comes from what you learn to build when they don't. And when you finally stop trying to prove that you deserved more, you start living like you already have enough. Not because they changed, but because you did. And that difference is what allows everything else to settle into place.